Dave Packer was in the middle of his first hour of not talking. He was also in the middle of his social studies class on a Monday morning in the middle of November, and Laketon Elementary School was in the middle of a medium-sized town in the middle of New Jersey. There was a reason Dave was in the middle of his first hour of not talking, but this isn't the time to tell about that. This is the time to tell what he figured out in the middle of his social studies class. Dave figured out that not talking is extra hard at school. And the reason, teachers. Because at 11:35, Mrs. Overy clapped her hands and said, Class, quiet down. Then she looked at her list and said, Dave and Lindsay, you're next. So Dave nodded and Lindsay and stood up. It was time to present their report about India. But giving the report would ruin his experiment, because Dave was trying to keep his mouth shut all day. He wanted to keep his lips zipped right up to the very end of the day, to not say one single word until the last bell rang and 3:10. And the reason that he decided to calm down. But it still isn't the time to tell about that. This is the time to tell what he did about the report. Dave and Lindsay walked to the front of the room. Dave was supposed to begin the presentation by telling about the history of India. He looked down at his index cards, looked at Mrs. Overby, looked out at the class, and he opened his mouth, but he didn't talk. He coughed. Dave coughed in about 10 seconds. Then he wiped his mouth, looked at his index cards again, looked at Mrs. Overby again, looked at the class again, opened his mouth again, and coughed some more. He coughed and coughed and coughed until his face was bright red and he was all bent over. Lindsay stood there, feeling helpless. Dave hadn't told her about his experiment, so all she could do was watch, and listen to his horrible cough. Lindsay's opinion of Dave had never been high, and it sank lower by the second. Mrs. Overby thought she knew what was happening with Dave. She had seen this before. Kids who got no novels, then they made themselves sick rather than talk in front of the class. It opposed her because Dave wasn't shy at all, ever. In fact, none of these years with grades were the least bit shy of novels about talking, ever. But the teacher took pity and she said, You'd better to go get some water. You two can give your report later. Lindsay gave Dave a disgusted look and went back to her desk. Dave nodded and Mrs. Overby coughed a few more times for good measure, and hurried out of the room, and with Dave out in the hall getting a drink. It's the perfect time to tell why he was in the middle of his first hour of not talking, and why he had decided to keep quiet in the first place.